evening. I hope you had a nice day earlier. And how was church for those of us that went to church today? Wow, it's good to be back. I couldn't come on live last week, Sunday. It was a very funny one, but I'm glad I was able to do you that video. Please don't mind my look in that video. I was quite tired, but I didn't want to leave you all hanging without any word from me regarding finding out with special needs. So I'm waiting for everyone to come up. Francis Kajela, thank you. Yeah, I'm waiting for us on Instagram to come on up to join us. So tell everyone, send me likes, send me greetings, send me hearts to let me know you're here with me so that we can have our usual discussion. Yeah, Cakes by Cheese. Oh, hi, Toby. Hi, all the way from the UK. So today I'll be talking about a topic I've titled, last week we talked about on finding help with special needs. We talked about a little what or no what at all. And then today we'll be talking about sympathy or empathy. So I'll just be talking. Yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you, Nancy, for joining in. Omo Babadiemi, thank you all the way from the US. Thank you all for joining in. And like I usually do, I do a recap of what I did the previous week, and then I just get to what I need to discuss with us today. My kids are really very active today, and you'll be hearing their voices. My little daughter begged to be with me, but I wasn't sure she'd be quiet enough. So if she comes in at any time, please bear with me. She just wants to see me talk to you all. So let's just take it as natural as we can today. So last week we talked about a few words or none at all. And what I was trying to talk about last week was, give me a little minute. It looks very dark in here. So what I was trying to talk about last week here was about how a lot of parents say that a lot of parents say that the children can talk, and I've spoken with a few service providers, and also with particularly speech therapists and special educators, and they said to me, parents say that kids can talk, and by the time we have an assessment or 1 or 2 sessions with the child, realize that the child has no words, or the child has words and the child isn't using. So I tried to define what speech is, what communication is, and what language is last week. And I was trying to find a middle ground for both the service providers and the parents when they speak to professionals that the kids can talk, because when we're saying talk in Nigeria or in this part of the world, when the parents say my child can talk to a professional, we have this belief that the child can communicate. And sometimes when we begin to work with the child, we just find out that the words are there as words, which is speech, but the functional use of language is usually not present, and that's where we now begin to have this argument back and forth, and parents have a lot of expectation. Service providers are not able to meet such expectations, and then on and on and on. So what I tried to talk about last week was to be able to understand exactly what it is, what speech is, what language is, what communication is, and alternative means of communication. So that was that about last week. This week, I'm talking about the topic I've titled empathy or sympathy, or empathy versus sympathy when it comes to special needs. Once again, I want to thank you all for joining in. Again, Uche, thank you. Vicky, Robert, thank you. Prince Chris, thank you for joining in. Kitability, Unrelenting Cynic, thank you to be Nancy, Baba. Everyone, thank you all for joining in. Please let everyone know that Sundays by 4 p.m. we have finding help with special needs with Lola and Aneke, talking about every issue of special needs and how we can gain more knowledge, clarity, and the best way to provide support for these children. So back to today's topic, which I've titled sympathy versus empathy. So I try to make it very simple by giving examples or some of the experience I've had with children with special needs and with families with special needs. Hello, Prince Charles. Oh, sorry, Prince Chris. Yeah, in Port Harcourt. So again, I try to explain. Sorry, I'm having a little problem here. Okay. If I'm still live and you can see hear me, please say hello, say something to me, particularly on Facebook. Yeah, so I can see we're very good on Instagram. So sympathy, when we talk about sympathy, what are we talking about? And when we say empathy, particularly when we're talking about children with special needs or their families or in the special needs community, we realize that a lot of people tend to be more sympathetic to individuals with special needs and their families as opposed to being empathetic. And I'm going to try and explain its relations to the disability community or special needs community. Now, when we say sympathy, what comes to mind is pity. You know, I would say a yeah or a yeah, you know, that word comes up a lot when you say pity or sympathy. But empathy means that you're walking in that person's shoes. You can see and you can feel things from that person's perspective. You know what the person is going through, or in the person's shoes. So, um, so when we talk about children with special needs or children with disability, it's always important for us to always have at the back of our mind that it's the best thing we can do to ensure that we are with them in what they're going through is to be empathetic. So I said earlier, to be empathetic means you are, if you look at the dictionary meaning also, it means you are, I'm trying to paraphrase it now. It means you can put yourself in that person's shoes. You can walk in that person's place. I saw this person who is still is a very known popular person, visually impaired, and I felt, oh my God, how can I help this person? You know, and that's where we need to understand the difference between sympathy. I'm trying to write something down. Sympathy and empathy. You know, so I walked up to him and I grabbed his hands and I was trying to make him walk with him on the walkway, thinking he needed my help. Hi, Nana. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okini, Luashegun, okay, Bikuni. So, and I tried to help him walk on the pathway, on the walkway. And he said to me, he said, Lola, no, I'm meant to hold you and you are not the other way around. I'm like, oh, sorry, I thought you needed my help in such a manner. And that's a very good example of being understanding the place of sympathy and empathy. So when we talk about children with special needs or individuals with special needs, there are several things going on with them. And I'm going to be talking about the individuals with special needs. I'm going to be talking about their families, like I always do. I'm going to talk about teachers and service providers and how we can understand our place in providing help for this individual. The first thing is that depending on the level of on the kind of disability you experience, it's always good to ask questions. I remember there was a child I was working with like 5 years ago. No, she's about 8 now. About 6 years ago, and whenever I have my team observing me, they would observe and take notes. And then afterwards, whenever we're discussing, they would say to me, "So why did you ask the child if you could help her with a toy, if you could help her with something?" And I said, look, in special needs, there's something about helping individuals with special needs keep a good self-esteem and not infringing on who their person is. So it's one thing to have special needs. It's another thing to understand that this is an individual before the special needs. So understand this person, give that person the respect he or she is due, whether the person is younger than you or older than you. So I need to ask, can I join you in your game? Is it okay for me to help you? Yes, I might be your teacher and I might know how best to help you to communicate. However, there's some other things you can do by yourself, and I won't just assume that because I'm older than you or because I'm your teacher, then I can just feel free to just take your toys or pick up your things and think I could help you. And I do the same with my kids. Do you need help with this, as opposed to just going to help. Because sometimes when they're struggling, we feel like we have this sympathy comes upon us and like, let me just help her so that she can get it all done and it's easily sorted out. But that's not always the case for individuals with disability. The first thing for those, like I said earlier, depending on the kind of disability the person is experiencing, you need to understand your place. Yes, you want to help, but do that person need your sympathy at that moment or your empathy? And like I said earlier on, empathy is always what individuals with special needs always require at every point in time. I also remember a story where I went for a function somewhere where there was no access to for individuals with that use the ramp. So this person was living with cerebral palsy, and he uses the ramp. And when it was time for him to get into the building to join us for the program, we realized that the building was not accessible to him. And naturally, you would have said, "Oh, it will not be fair for this man to not join in the program." So sympathy came in, and we wanted to lift him up so that he could go into the program. And the man was like, "No way, I am not immobile. I can move. All you need to do is to provide the means for me to move, which is by having a ramp." And that's just some little ways we need to understand that these are individuals first, that we need to respect their dignity. We need to show them respect despite the fact that they're living with disability. And these are adults. Thankfully, the man could talk to us and say, "No, I'm not going in if the ramp is not provided. I'm not a little child that needs to be carried." So like I was trying to put it across there, like the sympathy, that aspect would be like, okay, so it should not be nice for you to come out the way and not be able to go in for the program, so let's carry you. But he looked at himself and said, "No, you're not carrying me." And the empathy in that situation will be that we'll think of what is going through. One is mobile with the help of a wheelchair. Two, how would he get into this building with a ramp up as opposed to us carry him? So we are infringing on his right as a human being, and we are forgetting the fact that even with the fact that he's using a wheelchair does not give us the right to think that he cannot get up to the building by himself. I know this is a bit technical, but I want us to look at it in the sense that whenever I'm with a person with disability, I need to walk in that person's shoes. I need to imagine what the person is going through. And the first thing to do is to understand the kind of disability this individual is living with. Sometimes some of them require very little help, and sometimes some of them require a lot of help. But the first thing, depending on who you are talking to or dealing with at that time, you need to communicate with them and be sure that they need your help. So you need to ask, as opposed to imagine that this person needs my help and then I need to step in right just come up to help the tailor, say hi. So I'm busy right now. You need to just sit down. Thank you. So back to empathy versus sympathy. So it's not always right for us to just assume that individuals with special needs always need our help in certain things. What they always require of us is to understand what they're going through and find out the best way we can help or support them to be better. I'd always said it in most of my trainings, yes, and discussion I have with people about individuals with special needs. It's not always okay to say they always need your help. Sometimes they don't need your help. I've met someone that said to me that, look, we are not handicapped. We are not because we are living with something or a particular disability doesn't mean that we cannot do it ourselves. Just if you would think we need your help, then always ask us before you just assume that yes, you need to put you need to put yourself in the person's shoes. Thank you, Vicky, for that comment. So you need to understand what their perspective. So I'm going to try and narrow it down to parents, yes, because I've seen parents who have said to me that, my child is living with speech impairments. So maybe for example, the child is not able to communicate properly, and she's not putting herself in that child's shoes. And I realized that this is always very tough for parents, Oh, when a child looks at you, you know the child's need, oh, it's water. A child looks at you, you know it needs to pee. A child looks at you, you know, oh, it is hungry. And I say to parents, look, there's something we call tough love, and it also has to do with empathy, understanding, putting yourself in that child's shoes. Because if you keep being sympathetic by saying, oh, he can't really talk, so I don't let him, do other things with other children, with his siblings. If you say, why are the other siblings going to school and your child is not going to school, for example, he cannot learn, he's not talking. And I'm like, oh, really? I don't want anybody to start talking to my child anyhow, or, oh, I gave him the water because I know that that's what he needs. That's pity. And pity does not take them anywhere far. It doesn't help them in any way. I always say, put yourself in that child's shoes. That's being empathetic. If you were in that child's shoe and somebody keeps giving you everything and not helping you to make efforts to communicate by having using their words to communicate, there will be a time where you as a mother or the father or the family member who understand the need of this child may not be available to second guess what the child is trying to communicate to you. And then you find out that you've let that child talk. I said to people the other day, and I always say to them that, look, it's one thing to be disabled, which is inability to do some that disability. It's another thing to place a limitation on someone, and that's handicapping the person. So when we are thinking about, oh, let me just pity this child and just give him what he wants. Let me just, his special needs. Let me just give him water. You are not helping that child. If only you walk in that child's shoe and understand that in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, this child will require more help. You will now be able to put yourself in that child's shoe and see the future with that child and say, look, if this child is not using his words right now for water, I need to be in, assume the position of that child. Look from the child's vintage points and be able to see what next to do with the child. So I only from communicating to you today, I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of a child with special needs who had always been helped because we want to pity the child. You're trying to say, oh, you can't, you can't, and then you keep giving him all that he needs. When you're not available, the child is going to be helpless. And when we talk about the issue of learned helplessness, when a child is not, just feel that I can't, and then you keep helping the child. That's some of the things that makes it tough for the children. So yes, thank you. Vicky is just making a lot of points to me today. And she says some parents can be the barrier to special needs ability. Often this can be due to acceptance or denial. Well, sometimes these people are in this position, and sometimes also they might have even gotten to understand the fact that their child is going through something, which is the stage of acceptance, but inadequate knowledge or lack of knowledge of what to do sometimes make them do the wrong thing thinking they're doing the right thing. And that's what I'm trying to explain today. Sometimes they might actually be in acceptance, and I always they might have very gotten the stage of acceptance. And I always say to parents, read up, ask questions, learn. When I talk to parents, I talk to them about tough love. So if, for example, my child says water, and the child has got what and it's water, it's always very easy to say, oh, I know the sign. And I say to parents, I'm like, what is it saying? And they're like, what is what it's saying? I can hear him, I can understand what it's saying. But communication, let's not forget that communication is not just for you alone. It's for the child to be able to talk to everybody and be able to get feedback concerning his needs. So if a child says a word and immediately you go for it, before the child says another word, you go for what the child needs. At a point, the child will just keep quiet and not use the words anymore, But if, for example, yes, empathy means you're walking in the child's shoes, you are seeing from the child's vantage point, and you're thinking what would be the next thing to do, as opposed to being, oh, we can't help it, let's just help the child and all of that. So what I always advise parents to do is give it time. So I'm going to say I want to ensure that this child, as opposed to saying water, would say give water or want water. So that's just 2 words. And we're trying to get that done in like maybe 2 months, and maybe for the first 2 or 3 weeks, the child says water. As prior to when I speak to this parent, they're like, because I already know what he needs, I just give him what he needs. And I say, you know what, let's take it from here. From henceforth, take away, tell her you need to sit down, or you keep quiet, you're just distracting mama. So you say, henceforth, I'm not going to just give him what in by the look or by what, because I can predict what the child needs. I'm going to say, you know what, you need water. Then give me the word water. Then I give water. And then maybe we take water for like 2, 3, 4, 5 days. But the next week I say, give water. And the time I say, it might just throw a tantrum or just not want to say what I have, what I wanted to say, but I keep at it, and that's when we need to be very careful so that we're not getting to this stage of being sympathetic again as opposed to being empathetic. Yeah, I know you're going through a lot. I know it's a bit tough for you to say give water, but you can. We can walk through this. I know you're going through a lot, but we can do it together. And then I help the child say want water, and then before you know, by the third week, I want water. That's the power of being empathetic. That's what it can do. It brings out the best in these children as opposed to also just always second guessing and just thinking that this is what the child needs, and you just keep giving the child what he or she needs without being in our shoes. Because sometimes when we're in the if we say we're in the shoes, you're thinking, oh, the child might be frustrated, the child might just give up and all that. No, you take it step by step, and then you do it. You try to ensure that the child move from one level to another, and it keeps getting better. So that's for parents, and sometimes we have where parents are like, oh no, the father wouldn't do that, the mother. We need to understand that we can't just keep helping this individual, we can't just be sympathetic with them. We have to try and always remember that we'll not always be there for them, and when they're left alone, what are we going to do, or what is going to happen to them? Would they be able to live that independence life to the best of their ability, or would they always be requiring help? And like I said earlier on, depending on the level of severity. So a person who is visually impaired, a person who is hearing impaired, a person who is physically impaired, which is orthopedic impairment, oftentimes will always communicate their needs to you. So when you are trying to okay, so something happened to a friend the other day, and it was not a good one. So he was coming into a supermarket, and he had a lot of bags with him, and then the security of that store was trying to be helpful, and he was trying to drag the bag. Let me help you. And he was like, no, I can't. I'm okay. It's okay. So if you look at it in that sense, the child was the security guy was being sympathetic in the sense that he wanted to help, thinking that he was carrying too many load. And the person carrying the load was like, I'm fine, don't worry. It may look to you like I'm carrying so much load and I need your help. But I'm comfortable. It's okay, I can handle it. And then one thing led to the other. And the situation did not come out right as the security guy was hoping that it would. But I just want to use that as an example that sometimes these individuals with disability may not actually need our help the way we think they do. And that's where we see the pity thing comes. You just jump at, oh, let me help him. Oh, this is what he wants. Oh, I can tell this what he wants. We're not in their mind to understand what they want or what they are going through. And it's always best for us to find out what it is by trying to be in their shoes. So those individuals with physical disability, with hearing impairment, visual impairment, cerebral palsy, as long as it's not intellectual disability attached to that, it's always good for us to try and find out exactly how they feel, what they want, talk to them, and not just always assume that, oh, this person needs my help. So being sympathetic is quite different from being empathetic. Thank you, Vicky. So yes, picture exchange has proven to foster good communication with individuals with special needs, particularly individuals with speech and language delay or disorders. So I was speaking with someone yesterday again. That's where this issue of finding help with special needs is very dear to me. We all just assume that special needs, it's sometimes, like I was talking to someone yesterday, she said, oh, my child was slow to talk, to walk, to write, to do a lot of things. And I'm thinking autism, and I'm like, oh wow, there's a lot to do. And this is a parent who the child is about 13 years old, and up till now, she still doesn't understand that the child has, from my experience, I haven't seen the child, but that would be a form of delay. It could either be a physical orthopedic impairment, or it could actually be a developmental delay. So when we talk about special needs, we need to understand exactly what category we're talking about. So for picture exchange, it's usually used for individuals who have issues with communication. So it's either a speech or communication disorder or impairment. So for picture exchange, that's what will be used for them. But for those who have some other form of challenges, they will have to understand exactly what is going on with this individual before we can know the kind of help they'll be requiring. And that's also very important when we're talking about empathy and versus sympathy. Understanding the different disabilities that exist will help us to understand what is going on. So if I was going to if I met an individual who has challenges with memory. So under learning disability, sometimes we find out that short-term memory and long-term memory is an issue for them. I wouldn't be, the kind of help I might want to render would not be related to, might not relate to probably picture exchange, yeah. But unless the person have issue with like if the person has picture, they're trying to use a strategy to help him to use picture to understand or remember what he wants to say when it comes to memory. So understanding of what is going on helps us understand how best to provide support for this individual, and also helps also in empathize in the right way. So if I met a child who has issues with his fine motor skills, so a child cannot hold pencil, or a child is having orthopedic impairment, maybe for example cerebral palsy, and the child cannot hold a pencil. If I was supposed to provide help for that child, and I want to explain, and now I'm going to use this as a good example of sympathy versus empathy. If I just look at that child and say, oh, this child cannot write, it's okay, let him just sit down and be looking at all his mates when they are writing, he cannot write, that would be pity, that would be sympathy, and I'm not doing that child any good. But as a classroom teacher, and I realize that a child cannot write due to a fault that is beyond that child, probably orthopedic impairment or cerebral palsy, what I would do will be, I could get a tab or a laptop for that child to type, even if it's just typing one letter after the other. That would be me displaying empathy as opposed to being having a pity party for the child. Like, I need to understand that if this child does not write, I'm not doing that child any good by saying, hey, yeah, the child cannot write, so let them stay in the class and not do anything. And that's one thing we need to understand as service providers, as schools providing inclusive education. I've met several kids. So I met this kid recently, he's 8-year-old, and he's talking. I could hear him, but not very clearly. He's quite audible, but not as audible as every typical 8 years old. And I'm like, oh wow, this child can talk. And the part of his body that is affected is the lower limb, so he couldn't walk with the limb, so he's using wheelchair. And I was told that the child doesn't, is in school. I need to go meet him, please. Go meet him quickly. Sorry, my kids are just everywhere today. Their nanny is not around, she's off today, and they just want to be with me. As I really apologize that we understand what it means to be empathetic as opposed to being sympathetic with children with special needs, particularly as classroom teachers, and also as service providers. It's always the best for us to assume that they need our pity, which is a yeah, sorry, and all of that. And then at the end of the day, we're not doing them any good. We're doing them more of a disservice as opposed to being supportive and helping them to move them to the next level. And when we talk about special needs, what's always ringing in our mind is that wherever I find this child, if I find this child on, I'm just using on a scale of 1 to 10, for example, and the child is on 1, by the time I'm done with this child, whether I'm a service provider or I'm just a friend of the family or I'm just a member of the society, I want to be able to have made a difference in this child life, and this child would have moved to number 3, number 4, number 5, for example, as opposed to they can't do anything, just leave that child, he's living with special needs, just leave that child, and all of that. So the whole idea of what I'm trying to say today is that sympathy doesn't help individuals with special needs. It's better for us to be more understanding of what is going on with them. Excuse me. To understand what's going on with them, and then find out the best way to support these individuals, as opposed to just thinking, he can't. They're just helping him to do this. Sometimes in our schools, we say, okay, a child is with special needs, and then it's time for him to, and it's not even a physical impairment. When I say physical impairment, the child can move, can talk, can run, can jump, can do everything a typical child can do. Probably maybe the child is just living with autism, for example, but his physical ability is not impaired. We will not say, oh, let him not go out. So, if he goes out, the other kids might not let him play with them. Or if he goes out, he might not be able to communicate his needs appropriately to them. So let him just stay indoors so that nobody is nothing's affected, is doing well. No. Empathy will look at that child and think of best way to help that child communicate how to join up with his mates or his colleague. Sorry, with his colleague on, oh dear. If you're on Facebook, I just got a message that I should come back online, and I'm online. So please send me a message and let me know you're here. Let me know you are here. Send me, like I said, to me, Oyekune. Hi, Tommy. If you're on Facebook and you can hear me, send me a message, because I'm getting messages from. I just got a message for someone that she can't see me online. So let me know you're here. If you're on Instagram, please send me messages. Send me hello. Send me hi. Send me. Okay, yeah, Nene just joined up again on Facebook. Thank you for joining in. But send me messages. I can see you, Nene. Thank you. That means you're good on Facebook. I can see your hearts. I can see your loves. Thank you. That means you're good on Facebook. Okay, thank you for not minding. So thank you. So so I was trying to say to us that we always have to have it at the back of our mind that empathy always works better for our children with special needs, as opposed to being sympathetic with them. We need to understand, and what it does is that as individuals, think of the future, think of the next step, think of, if I'm not there to help this child, what will happen to this child? Where I'd rather give this child a skill to be able to live independently to the barest minimum, or would I always be there? So if you're always being sympathetic, we don't think of the future for these children. We don't think of what will not be around. We don't think of what will happen if nobody's there to help them. So always think of, I want to be in this situation right now. I want to assume I'm this child who is not working right now. I want to assume I'm this child who is living with autism right now. I want to assume I'm this child who is living with hearing impairment right now. I want to assume I'm this child living with visual impairment right now. And if I find myself in this situation and there's nobody to help me, what would I be imagining that people that have met me before and had seen me in this situation would have taught me, so that I can survive this situation I'm in right now? So that should always be what's in our mind when we're thinking of being empathetic with our kids with special needs. Sympathy does not always work. Sympathy makes them feel, you know what, don't worry about it. You don't have to. We'll do it for you. Don't worry about it. You're living with special needs. You're living with hearing impairment. You're living with visual impairment. You're living with autism. You're living with Down syndrome. So therefore, you don't have to. We'll always do it for you. You don't have to. We'll keep you away from such situation. That's not reality of life. Reality of life is that this situation will always come. And how can they overcome those situations? And the best way that they can overcome those situations is that we that are in contact with them can understand that, look, this child might not be able to do this right now. Does not mean the child would never do this. If only I can put myself in the situation of this child and find a way around how I can conquer this situation, this moment, be it long-term or short-term days, and then bring myself out of that situation, then we'll be able to now consider that child in that situation at that moment and find out a way to help the child so that the child can move on with life. And that's all we keep talking about. And that's, I would think that I would say, and I stand to be corrected, that is actually what batted the issue of accommodation and modification in special needs. So accommodation means that we are going to we're not going to water down what our expectations of these children are. We're going to give them things to help them achieve what we want them to achieve. While modification means that, there's a task ahead of you, but because we know that you have a particular challenge, we'll not make you do the task all the way, but we'll help you. We'll make sure that you do it to a certain extent where you don't feel that you're a failure. You feel that, yes, I can do it to this extent as opposed to not do it at all. And I think that, for me, that makes sense when we talk about empathy. Yes, you have a situation. Yes, you're going through something, but I'm not going to say because you are visually impaired, you are not going to be educated. I'm not saying because you're visually impaired, you will not be able to walk from your bedroom to the sitting room. I'm not going to say because you're hearing impaired, you'll not be able to probably read, for example. I'm not going to say because you're living with autism, that means that you'll never be able to play with other kids, or you'll never be able to sit still. No. What it means is that I understand what is going on. And we cannot understand what is going on if you don't really understand. And that's the truth. And I always say to people, the first thing you need to do is understand the different kind of disability that exists. Autism, intellectual disability, which includes Down syndrome, Fragile X syndrome, Prader-Willi syndrome, all of those genetic conditions that affect individuals, and that one falls under intellectual disability. So I've said autism, intellectual disability, orthopedic impairment, which includes cerebral palsy, learning disabilities, which includes dysgraphia, dyscalculia, and dyslexia, and some other processing issues. And then we also have visually impaired, we have hearing impaired, we have people with communication disorders. So I've mentioned about 8 disabilities, and we have about 13 of them. I'm trying to see if I can run through all the 13. We have individuals with emotional disturbances. We have individuals with other health impairment. We have people with traumatic brain injury, that's 11 to 1. We have people with emotional disturbances. I mentioned that. So I mentioned about 11 of them out of the top of my head. So if right now we're on finding help with special needs, I'm trying to make it as easy as possible. Just go to your computer and type categories of disabilities, and then you see there are about 13. Even in Nigeria, my book, Special Needs Meet ED, I explained that also. The same, almost the same category we have in Nigeria is what we have in the US, and I think that's the same thing they have in the UK. Once you find out what that is, then find out exactly what causes those disabilities and the challenges that these individuals are going through. Once you understand what the challenges are, so for a person with autism, what are the basic possible challenges that these individuals are going through? If it's traumatic brain injury, what will this individual be having as a challenge? If it's other health impairment. And funny enough, when I was doing I was so surprised. No, I wasn't surprised, but to think that other health impairment includes individuals, children who has always fallen ill because of malaria and they're missing school, or children with sickle cell and they're missing school. If I was going to be empathetic to those children, or provide a form of accommodation or modification for these children, to be different from what I will provide for a person with having communication disorder or visual impairment or hearing impairment. So first and foremost, before we can understand the difference between empathy and sympathy and when to come in to help these individuals, we need to understand the various kind of disability that exist. Once you understand the various kind of disabilities and their causes and the ways it exhibits in different individuals, because the way one person with autism will exhibit that challenge will not be the same way another person with autism will exhibit his or her challenges. A person with emotional disturbances will exhibit his own challenge in one way rather than the way another person will exhibit their own disturbance. So it's always better for us to understand what is going on first, understand the various kind of disability that's going on. Then you can now think of, if I were to help this person, if I were to be in this person's shoes, if I didn't want to be just having a pity party about this person, or being sympathetic about what this person is going through, I want to understand what the person is going through first. The empathy comes in. Okay, wow, he's not writing because his model stones are weak. And I won't say just don't write. That would be pity. But I would say I'm going to have to find out what kind of exercises I can do to ensure that this individual can hold a pencil or can type his keyboard to be able to communicate, or to be able to write, or to be able to express whatever it is, or show that he understands what I'm teaching in the classroom. Also, I also want to understand whatever it is that the person is going through, whatever it is the challenge it is. That way, pity will just go naturally. I tell you, I was once like that. So before I went to special needs, I just felt, I just gave an example of, I met a person who is blind, and he was walking. I could see, because when they're putting their stick on the floor, trying to feel what's on the floor, you just naturally feel, oh, this person cannot understand what's going on. Let me just go and help this person. And then when I ran to that individual, he said thank you to me, but he said, no, you're not meant to hold me. I'm meant to hold you so you can lead me in the right way, So I'm like, oh, really? And I learned that very fast. So I was just imagining, what if I'd read about individuals? That was years back, what if I had read about visually impaired people or people that were totally blind? Would I find myself in a situation where I'm trying to be sympathetic or empathetic? And I know that if I had enough knowledge regarding people that are visually impaired or blind, it would be easier for me to walk up to him and say, do you need me to help you? And then he will make up his mind to say yes or no. Oh, no, I'm fine. Or yes, I need you to help me. And then I'll wait, as opposed to just grabbing his hand to help him. Then he will now grab my hands. And that's what I learned. He will now grab my hands, and then he would now walk. We will now walk together. What I'll be leading, he would follow. That's a practical example of a visually impaired. So when we're talking about sympathy and empathy, I would want us, the first challenge is that let's take it upon ourselves. We want to make the world more inclusive. We want to make Nigeria more inclusive. We want our society to be more inclusive. We want our classroom to be more inclusive. We want to give individuals with disability a chance. We want them to feel like every one of us. We know about diversity. We know about inclusion. Diversity means it's okay to be different. The best way for us to make individuals living with disability feel that they are okay, I mean they're okay really, and the world is for all of us to share, is for us to understand what they're going through, and for us to be empathetic and making it more inclusive for them by understanding what they're going through, reaching out to them and asking them where they need help. Now, someone will say to me, oh, how about the little younger children that don't understand? Read up about what they're going through, study them, observe them and see what they like, what they do not like, where they have challenges and where they do not have challenges. And particularly for parents, I always say something about tough love, tough love, tough love. Tough love for me will be a definition of being empathetic. And whoever you are, family member, is always very tough for us to, it's always very easy for us to just want to do things for children with special needs. It's always very easy for us to just want to, it's not easy for these children, they just help them. But tough love for me defines empathy. I understand that right now you can't walk very well, and you have been going through physical therapy, as if or occupational therapy, whatever the case is for a person with cerebral palsy. And then the therapist says to me, Miss Lola, when I'm gone, make sure it takes 3 steps every 1 hour. And then I go, and then the therapist leaves, and then I'm like, hey, I don't know what to do. Hey, he may fall down. Hey, I don't want this child to think I don't like him. He may just hate me forever. No, you are limiting that child, and that's what pity does. But when you understand that tough love, this child might feel pain. As long as the pain is not going to kill, this child might cry. Crying does not kill. You will take that 3 steps today for this hour. By next hour, we'll do another 3 steps. By the next hour, we'll do another 2, as I've been instructed to do with this child. And that also brings me to a lot of parents who leave their children at centers, and then they go back home and they say, oh, we have an assignment or a task for you to practice with this child. And you're like, I beg, the child will not listen to me. The child will not do what I've asked him to do. Only you guys know it. The truth is that if you're not a part of that child's intervention, you will not see as much result as you should see, as opposed to parents that are very involved in their child's intervention. So let's go for tough love. Let's go for empathy. Let's go for knowing that this child will find himself in a situation where I will not be around, where he might be all there, all alone, and what will the child do? I remember my son, when I had him, I had to have like an emergency cesarean operation, and then when I woke, so I had the baby, and then I was asked to rest. And by the time the anesthesia went out, I began to feel pain, and they said to me, you need to walk. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. I didn't even realize I couldn't walk. And that was, I think that was the first day or the second, I can't remember. And by the time I put my leg on the floor, it was like heavy. I couldn't even lift the leg. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. I need to go back to bed. I need to lie down to the hill before I begin to make those steps to walk back. And the nurse said to me, look, I understand your pain, but guess what? If you don't get up to walk right now and do these steps every day, you might not be able to walk anymore. I'm like, no, that's not true. Because I was in pain. I'm like, that's not true. When I was strong enough, I'll walk. She said, no. The physical therapist said to me, you need to take steps, a certain amount of steps every day. And for me, that is empathy. I know you are in pain. But if you do not move right now and you do not make those steps bit by bit, you may not be able to walk anymore. And that for me just defines what empathy is with children with special needs. Understand that if you do not help them to move to the next level, you are not doing them any favor at all by being sympathetic or by being pity, having a pity feeling around them, thinking, what if, what if, what if. We never have, if you don't move, if you don't take that that tough love, I call it tough love, if you don't take that step of tough love, so that nothing's going to happen, and this child will continue to be dependent on you. And I always say, for every child, no matter how severe the disability or the special needs is, there's always room for improvement. We just have to take it upon ourselves to say, look, I'm here and I can help this child to move to the next level. And that's where the issue of sympathy and empathy comes in. Never, ever, ever, ever. If you've always been sympathetic with individuals with special needs, and for those of us in developed country, I'm sure you've seen that a lot. You try to say, I'm okay, and you need to look on their face like, why are you helping me? I'm not dumb. I'm not handicapped. It's just special needs, and it doesn't define me. I'm still why I'm beyond the special needs, beyond the disability. So for us to make the world more inclusive, for us to embrace diversity in special needs and in the world generally, empathy is the way to go. And what I'm like, if I in conclusion, what I'm trying to say is that understand the various kind of disabilities, understand what are the causes, understand what goes on, as simple as possible. Then empathy would be easy for you to display as opposed to being sympathetic. I feel sympathetic is more of lack of knowledge and lack of what's going on with this individual makes us to be more sympathetic as opposed to being empathetic with individuals with special needs. So that's what I have to say to you today. I hope I've been helpful. I hope I've thrown light in some dark situations when it comes to issue of special needs and disabilities, and I hope I've been able to answer some questions on our mind, and I believe that going forward we'll be more empathetic with individual disabilities as opposed to being sympathetic. So before I go on, or before I call it a day with us, I want to remind us about Special Needs Made Easy. I just left it here just now. Excuse me. Don't forget to get your copy of Special Needs Made Easy. At the end of this video, I'm going to post the various locations we can get it in Abuja, in Lagos, in Port Harcourt, in Kaduna, in Nigeria, even in the UK. Nana, you're going to get yours. I'm coming to the UK next month for his training with TS. So I look forward to seeing you, hopefully, because I'll be there for a while. And you get your copy. So tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to get a copy of Special Needs Made Easy. I wrote this book from my heart because I see a lot of people. Like I said yesterday, a parent was asking me, I don't know, but I want to help children with autism. And I'm like, your child is not living with autism. It's okay to want to help any kind of children, but why don't you get to understand the various kind of disability so that you can know where to provide help for children? This book says it all. This book is an easy read. It talks about the various categories of special needs, both in Nigeria and in the US, and it's almost the same. It talks about accommodation, modification. It talks about the myth about different kind of disabilities. And it just opens your eyes to understand what special needs is. And for me, if you read this book, I wrote it from what I actually read it also. And when I was trying to put myself in your shoes, if I were to read this book and I wasn't the author, it just opens your eyes to understanding what special needs generally. And then you're not just speaking like, oh, that child has a disability, or that child, every child living with autism. No, you can actually say, this is what this child is going through, and this is how to provide help. For classroom teachers, this is a very good resource. For parents, it's a very good resource. Anyone that wants to understand and want to practice inclusion, this is a very good resource for you. So please get your copy. And it just goes for 2,500 naira. You could call the number 0809 1273 666. Again, the number to call just in case you need an information regarding this book or any other issue regarding special needs is 0809 127 3666. So if you're out of Nigeria, if you're outside Nigeria, it's +234 809 127 3666. So take out the first zero and put +234 809 1273 666. But if you're in Nigeria, just call the number 0809 127 666 to get your copy of Special Needs Made Easy. Again, I'm excited to let you know I've been working a lot to also make Special Needs Easy in the area of autism. So my book, Mastery Autism, will be out very soon. So let me let the cat out of the bag. My birthday is on the 28th of September, and I thought to finish up the book. It's already almost done, and I'll launch it on my birthday. And it's just, for me, that's the best gift you can give to me, is to purchase copies and give it out there to your friends, to your colleagues, to parents of individuals with autism, to anyone that wants to know about autism. I'll put a lot of information out there. It's very objective. It will blow your mind as to the level of work I put into that book, and it's called Mastering Autism. So it's a must read. Yeah, thank you. It's a must read. Especially Made Easy is a must read. I'm going to be throwing out a lot of testimonials about this book very soon. I mean, I'm blown away by the feedback, and I'm not surprised, but because I know I did a good job with that book, and I'm doing a better job with Mastering Autism. So we'll make the price available to you very soon. That's Mastering Autism. But for Special Needs Made Easy, it is just 2,500, and you can get a copy on by calling the number 0809 127 666. Again, the number to call is 0809 127 666. So if you were at the Special Needs Summer Camp that we had in Abuja, Lagos, and Port Harcourt, it was so fulfilling for me. Everyone I met made me realize that I'm in the right place, and I made the right decision to go out there to talk about special needs during the Special Needs Educator Summer Camp. It was a confirmation to me that this is what I've been called to do, and that I'm called out to empower individuals, and I want to work with this individual with special needs. So thank you. Throw out more testimonials out there. The feedback has been amazing. Let other people know about what you've learned, and then share. We learned a lot. And one of the things we learned is to share information to make the world a better place. Thank you so much for joining me again on Finding Help with Special Needs. I remain yours truly, Lola Aneke. Thank you for understanding that. Yeah, I see a number there. Darling from UK, yeah, that's the number. Thank you, Vicky Robert. You've been such a sweetheart. You've just been like paraphrasing everything I've been saying today. You're the best. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone that has joined in. Until I come away, as I come your way again next week, Sunday by 4 p.m. I am Lola Aneke on Finding Help with Special Needs. Send me emails at lolaneke@gmail.com. on Instagram at Lola Aneke. Already you know that, on Facebook, and I'll be more than happy to answer your question and make special needs really easy. Thank you so much, and have a great week ahead of you. Bye-bye for now.